In this session, you'll be able to explain what civil investigations involve, how they differ from criminal or administrative investigations, and what your role is as security leader in protecting evidence, supporting litigation, and enabling defensible responses. A civil investigation is typically initiated when one party believes another has caused harm, financial, reputational, or operational, and seeks resolution through the civil legal system, not the criminal courts. Unlike criminal cases, which involve government prosecution for violating public laws, civil cases usually involve private disputes between individuals or organizations. For example, a third-party vendor accuses your organization of violating a contract by failing to protect confidential data, resulting in damages. This would trigger a civil investigation, often leading to legal action for compensation or remedy. During a civil investigation, your responsibility isn't to determine who's right or wrong. That's for legal teams to handle. Your role is to deliver the facts and help preserve the integrity of the investigation. How well you manage technical evidence and documentation can significantly affect your organization's legal position. You may be called on to collect digital evidence, including emails, access logs, and system activity records. It's your job to gather this data without altering it, and to ensure it's preserved in a forensically sound manner. Your ability to trace who accessed what, when, and how could make or break a legal claim. You'll likely be asked to support e-discovery processes, where attorneys require specific digital records as part of the legal discovery phase. This means working closely with legal teams to extract and provide relevant documents, messages, or logs, ensuring everything is retrieved in a compliant, verifiable way. Another key task is to document policy adherence clearly and accurately. If your organization claims it followed specific security protocols or contractual terms, your logs, procedures, and configuration records need to back that up. The stronger your documentation, the stronger your legal defense. You may also need to explain the technical environment and controls to legal teams who don't have your background, whether it's firewall rules, access provisioning, or how a data breach occurred. You're there to provide clarity, not jargon. Even though this isn't a criminal case, your actions, documentation, and decisions can directly impact the legal outcome. From influencing the terms of a settlement to determining liability, your contribution as a security leader is critical in helping your organization navigate civil disputes with credibility and confidence. In a civil investigation, the standard you're working under is known as the preponderance of the evidence. That means the burden of proof is lower than in a criminal case. It's about showing that something is more likely than not to be true. But don't let that fool you into being less thorough. Your evidence still needs to be accurate, complete, and defensible. Anything unclear, inconsistent, or incomplete can weaken your organization's position. One common theme you need to recognize is breach of contract. If your organization is accused of failing to meet the obligations outlined in a contract, like securing sensitive data or delivering promised services, your logs, timelines, and communications could be used to prove or dispute the claim. You need to ensure your controls and documentation match the commitments made. Another frequent issue is negligence, which involves failing to take reasonable steps to prevent harm. For example, if you didn't patch a known vulnerability that led to a data leak, the opposing party could argue that you didn't exercise due care. Your job is to ensure that routine security practices like updates, monitoring, and incident response are well documented and consistently applied. You should also be aware of data privacy violations, especially under regulations like GDPR or CCPA. If personal data is mishandled, exposed, or used without proper consent, your organization could be liable. You need to maintain evidence that shows how personal data is stored, protected, and processed according to legal and regulatory standards. Finally, be mindful of intellectual property infringement. If someone accuses your organization of using copyrighted material, proprietary code, or trademarks without authorization, your documentation must prove where your assets came from, who had access, and whether any safeguards were bypassed. In all these scenarios, your logs, procedures, and response actions become the legal paper trail. They can serve either as proof of compliance or as evidence of liability. That's why your documentation must be clear, consistent, and written as if it will be reviewed in court, because it very well might be. As a security leader, you need to recognize the events that typically trigger a civil investigation and act quickly to support the process. Your early involvement is crucial to preserving evidence, protecting your organization, and ensuring compliance. Civil investigations often begin with formal complaints from customers, vendors, or employees. These may involve allegations of data mishandling, contract violations, or security concerns. When such complaints are raised, it's your responsibility to identify the systems, people, or data involved and secure any relevant logs or records. You may also receive legal demands, such as a subpoena or a litigation hold. These are formal notices requiring your organization to preserve all potentially relevant information. When this happens, you must immediately suspend any auto-deletion policies and begin forensically sound data preservation. Failure to act could result in evidence loss and legal consequences. Another common trigger is regulatory inquiries or data subject access requests. These often come from data protection authorities or individuals exercising their rights under laws like GDPR or CCPA. You'll need to help compile data accurately, ensure it's delivered securely, and confirm that your handling aligns with compliance obligations. Finally, civil investigations may arise from the discovery of potential contract violations during internal or third-party audits. If an audit uncovers gaps in policy enforcement, data protection, or service levels, it could escalate into a formal legal matter. In this case, you're expected to collect and document evidence that shows whether your team met the agreed-upon terms. At every step, you must be prepared to identify these triggers, alert your legal and compliance teams, and begin preserving data immediately, before anything is lost, altered, or deleted. Your vigilance sets the foundation for a defensible response and protects your organization from unnecessary legal exposure. So, what's your leadership takeaway? When you're involved in a civil investigation, your credibility and documentation are key. You're not there to argue law. You're there to present the facts. That means preserve everything early and securely. Work closely with your legal team, not just IT. Be proactive about identifying compliance risks, and ensure your documentation shows that your organization acted responsibly and consistently. Remember, the outcome of a civil case may depend just as much on your logs and reports as on legal arguments. So, stay organized, stay neutral, and support the process with professionalism and precision.